Yeah, remember if when Evan comes on, it try to do a don't start it, don't segue. Just literally start like you're talking to him, like it's a brand new segment, so that I can just do the intro.
You mean if he shows up late? So it's just
Yeah,
the four of us, right?
yeah. Greg is stranded.
Yeah, and I'm only
Okay, I'm ready to start. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I am your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast where the we. That's the first time I've done that.
Take two.
Take two. I'm going to make you work for your money tonight.
Oh, that's an easy cut.
Now, part
Just
of the
chop it off at the top.
well, part of the problem is my window is too short and it's cutting off the words. Haha, there we go. I knew something was wrong because the words weren't showing. So, okay, here we go. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Brian McCubbin,
Good day, everyone. How you doing?
David Hall,
Hello.
and Tony Groves.
good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, and Greg was going to be here, but he's stranded on the side of a road in a big 18-wheel truck. Good luck to Greg. We're going to jump right into topics. Evan will be coming, I hope, to talk about the Coke race. But, of course, topics are sponsored by Schoolyard Setups. If you're struggling to crawl into top 10 in the Road to Pro, always in the back of the Xfinity, can't find that extra tenth to compete for wins in the NASCAR iRacing Series, visit schoolyardsetups.com to get race-ready setups for the ABC this week. Please use referral code 207124 when you sign up so they know you heard from it, iRacers Lounge about that. And I got to tell you what, we're using schoolyard setups at Martinsville this week and had a P4, and that thing is turning in the center. I mean, you get down to the middle and you hit the gas and that wheel's turning a little to the left, that thing just goes left. And Tom Dreiling was running top split with some very heavy hitters, Boyd Hogan and Garrett Maines, and was running top 10 with these guys within a tenth of what they were running at race pace. So these setups are the real deal, guys. I'm not joking. Okay, Brian, let's talk iRacing videos.
Yeah, guys. iRacing, they posted a video promo this week, and the theme of the video is the cars are virtual, but the racing is real. And man, they had highlights from all the major series. You know, from the Coke series to the Porsches, everything, and as well as some of the pro guys that were racing earlier in this year through the pandemic stuff. And this is a great video, man. If you watch it and you're just not pumped up to go racing, which I'm not able to do right now, and you got this video is fantastic. All the professional commentators that are doing great jobs, like Evans on there, and all the guys from Dirt and NASCAR and IndyCar. It's just a fantastic video. It really gets you pumped up. And I advise sharing this video with anybody who you know who might think about getting into iRacing, because man, it's gonna change some minds if they watch it.
And it covers all the different genres of racing, too. You know, from NASCAR to road racing to dirt and rally and everything that's involved that encompasses iRacing. So, a really cool video, like you said, and really fun to watch. And with that, we'll bring in Evan Pasoko. Hey, thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, thanks for having me again after yet another wild week of action. Now as we're finally down to the end of the year.
Boy, it was quite a race. Leading up to the race, we had the hype video. trying to outdo the week before, I see, by having William Byron invited in to narrate the video, and then the very dramatic, orchestra music behind it.
Yeah, no, I think that I was joking actually when we first saw it that they've moved on to bigger and better things for me and Steve, and had Willie B do it, and that's cool. And I know that we're doing some stuff today and tomorrow for the race on Monday, because we have to be editing stuff for obviously the race as it happens, but then also some television specific things. Because the race is going to get cut up into an hour program for NBCSN, so constantly trying to push the bar. So we'll be busy for the next few days, coming up with something new as well.
Okay, very good. Well, let's jump right into the race. Boy, lap one was kind of a different take. We didn't hear from you guys, but we had these really cool low camera speed shots as they went around for lap one, and I think you picked up commentary as they came to lap two.
Yeah, we especially now that. That camera shake is in there. I think that those stationary shots or the static shots are super cool. And we do our, full throttle segment or whatever, but we've been trying to mix in, kind of those statics off of the restarts or onboards or something for at least the lap or so off of a restart. Unless, something crazy happens, and then we kind of have to jump in. But trying to give, people some more of that kind of natural sound is something we've been really working on.
Okay, lap 4, it was Bob Bryant taking the spot from Bolin Graham up front. Lap 8, the pass for the lead. Keegan Leahy needed no help on the outside. He was up to P1 early and expected him to stay there most of the night. I mean, he was strong. He had a lot to say before the race on social media about checkers or wreckers kind of thing. Lap 13, Graham Bolin takes the lead, though, from Keegan Leahy.
Yeah, and at that point, we're kind of thinking back to Texas, right? Or back to from Texas, but thinking back to Kansas, drawing the similarities between the two, where that race started with some green flag runs, and it looked like that we had some of the playoff guys up there, a couple of spoilers in the mix, and you're right. I mean, Keegan probably should have gotten a win maybe at Texas, if not, or at Kansas. I keep calling Kansas Texas. He should have gotten a win with the week prior at Kansas. But obviously that race doesn't end well for him, and that's the whole reason why he's in this position, right? Is because it doesn't work out for him, and he ends up, down in the standings and whatnot. So this was another week where we're looking at it and thinking, Keegan has a good chance to win the race. I don't think that it was, looking like that he was going to outright, because you mentioned Graham was right there. He was having a great run. There was a couple other guys up there as well, but at least early, like he did the week before, Keegan was looking good and he had the speed, and it turns out to be the early yellow, not the craziness late, but the early yellow that just put him on the back foot for the strategy, and he really couldn't bounce back from that.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. A spin by Alex McCullum. It was a checkup by him. He was trying not to hit Michael Grigula, and Michael Guest couldn't check up in time. So McCullum does a 360, gets going again. It was pretty impressive. Nobody really hit anything. But like you mentioned, Bobby Zalenski did tell us after the race, the people that stayed out on this caution kind of got screwed with a bad strategy decision, trying to, save tires for the end.
Yeah, because they had 4 additional sets of tires, right? So a lot of guys were thinking, I want to save those late in case we have restarts and whatnot. And honestly, I thought that the cars pitting were going to be the ones wrong. I thought that the correct call was to just stay out, because I didn't think that, the 13 or 14 laps, whatever it was going to be enough to get it done. But, we saw shortly thereafter off of the restart on fresh tires that it was, right up through the field for Bob Bryant as he came coming through, and that kind of put Mike Conti on the lead foot. For those guys, and at that point you're thinking, okay, the guys who didn't pit, they're kind of behind now, but they'll get back up there. And honestly, they never really did, right? Those guys who started the race up front, and then eventually kind of fell back due to the traffic, struggled to get back up there. The Keegans, the Bolins. I mean, Graham got back up there late and wrecked, but it took him to the very end to get back into the conversation. Busa, Chandler, I mean, those guys kind of fell off. It seems like just once they got back in traffic, half of them just never got back to the top 5.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a lead change. Ryan Luza to the point on the restart after Graham Bolin. And then Keegan Leahy was just hemorrhaging positions, falling clear outside the top 10. So the points were taking a swing all night long, one way or the other, it seemed like. But the fresh tires were gold. I mean, Bob Bryant and Mike Conti are in the top 2 spots on the fresh tires, while all the old tires were falling back. The longer green flag run goes, the better it was for the guys who took tires on that first yellow. But if they get a yellow now, it's going to be a tough call. The top 11 had pulled away, so.
Yeah, they checked out, right? I mean, we were kind of talking how, and we didn't see it for the rest of the race, where nobody was really able to pull away. That was the one time on the difference with tires where they had kind of checked out. And that's a case where, sometimes if you don't pit, then you're hoping that the next yellow would benefit you. Honestly, I thought if a yellow were to come out, it would hurt the guys that had pitted, right? Because they were just setting sail. And as we discussed, strategy-wise, the 13-lap difference wasn't going to make a difference in the pit stop number. And they would have still had tires for every, the 2 or 3 trips, whatever it was, back down to the pit road if it had gone green. So turns out that call to pit on the first one ended up being really good, regardless of yellows and whatnot. And at that point, those guys in the back actually hoping for a yellow. Not that it hurts any group either way, but they wanted obviously those drivers up front to quit checking out on them.
Yeah, exactly. So it was Bob Bryant, Mike Conti running 1-2 up there. They had broken away from the field by about 0.3 on lap 37. Lap 47, the lineup was Bryant, Conti, Guest, Clampett, Kerwin, Gorlinski, Bolton, Challenger, Davies, Overland, Schoenberg. Notably, Ryan Luza 12th and Jimmy Mullis 15th. And lap 51, new leader Michael Guest, who was actually part of that last caution. He's now running P1. Casey Kerwin up to P2. He was having a great run.
Yeah, we saw like 10 different drivers, I think, lead laps in this race. And a handful of them were, guys who started at the back and kind of stayed out on some of the later pit cycles. Like Schoenberg got up there. You could talk about Michael Gast. I mean, those were guys from 30th, ish, that on the starting grid, and they just kind of find themselves cycling through to the point. And now we're getting into the position with pit stops, kind of cycling through and coming up and whatnot, that it's kind of hard to track. Who making their way through the field has got a good shot at this, right? Because everybody was kind of taking advantage of tires, which ended up being a bigger story than, we knew tires was going to be the factor, right? We had a fuel number, and we thought that the tire number was going to be a little bit shorter to kind of choke up on the pit cycle. But I think it showed us that tires were a lot more important than I think at least we were expecting.
Yeah, and so green flag pit stop start around 56 with Keegan Leahy and a few others. Kerwin takes the lead at that point. They finishing up around lap 67, so quite a range there of about 11 laps over the green flags cycle. Then caution on 2 later on lap 69 as Ray Alfalo gets clipped. Tian gets wrecked and Luza is involved.
And that's the big, turning point in this race. I thought, when that happens, that Ray was going to be hurt a lot more than he was, but he was able to kind of hang out at the front, a little bit after that incident happened, but it was just it for Luza, right? And I don't quite remember if he had answered how it happened specifically when we talked with him, because, again, he kind of sneaks in and makes it to the end. And gets in, not to spoil the end or anything, right? But Luza ends up with a spot in the championship floor, and that's not a great finish in the race for him, as he kind of fell back and was mid-20s. But I don't know if he was trying to, like, if he didn't know Ray was pitting, or if he didn't know, or if he was trying to, because Challenger was slow, right? So he was, I don't know if he was trying to get to the inside to get around him, but at that point, he turns to the right, clips him, takes out another car. And at this point, I'm thinking Luza's done, Ray's done, right? I'm thinking they're both gone. Ray actually had a better car somehow through the damage, but Luza's the one who ends up, hanging on enough to get the job done, and he helped him, issues with some other drivers later in the race that we'll get to when we get to that point.
Yeah, I think, Challenger is checking, and Ray sees that, and he starts to check, and then of course, it's just one of those chain reactions. And, we did hear from Ryan after the race, and he said he didn't know those guys were pitting at all, and he wasn't ready for it. And he was 3 wide, and he was digging hard. So, yeah, I'm surprised. I think he was surprised that he was able to, carry on to the Final Four after being involved in this particular incident.
And the one part I do remember when we talked in post races, he thought at that point, he said he was heartbroken. Right? I mean, there's so much on the line for these guys. Not only is it a lot of money, and that obviously means a lot of stakes, but, just emotionally and all the time they put in, he thought he was done. And he just basically kind of rolled around with a pretty bad car for the rest of the race, just keeping it in it. And that proved to be critical because, when we talk about what that point split was, I mean, it wasn't by much that he ends up in. So he was from the highs of running good, to the lows of thinking he's out, to the last second high of basically getting in on the final lap.
Okay, so this is what I love. I had 4 cars on the lead lap because we were in the middle of stops. Conti has the lead. It was Keister and Alfala. And like you said, Ray still was fast, even though he got involved. But a bunch of wave arounds. Everybody else was doing a wave around, so we had that. And then to the lead, Colin Keister takes control around Mike Conti on the restart. The pass takes Conti out of contention for the Final Four as they run when we're looking at those points, and moves Ray Alfala in on points currently. So the points were, like I said, were going up and down the whole race, and this caution changed everything.
It did, and I thought it was going to be the consequential part. And this is the stuff that has happened in years past, but honestly, without the live points, it's hard for us to kind of do the math, so it's such a good visual, right? And Conti, when he's not leading, he was like 8th of the 8. I mean, he was way, way down, so he needed the win. So the second he goes out of the lead, Mullis had been the guy solidly 3rd in points, highest on points, but when it opened up a second one on points, that's what put Alfala in. He was doing pretty good with the back end damage, and it seemed like Keister was better on the long run, which I thought was going to hurt Conti here. And at this point, I'm thinking, listen, Michael Conti's got a really good shot to win this race, but Colin Keister may want to win it more, and that says a lot when you consider what's on the line for Conti, right? So that was looking like it was going to be a great battle all night, because Conti would go to the lead, get a couple out front, but Colin wouldn't let him go. He'd stay on his bumper, get him back, and then same thing. Conti wouldn't let him go back and forth, and we're thinking at that point, hey, this is going to be a great 60 or 70 laps to the end with one more pit stop needed.
Yeah. Lap 112, Garrett Lowe, Alex McCullum begin the final round of their green flag stops. It was lap 133. Ray Alfala, Colin Keister, Mike Conti, Logan Clampett basically battling for the race lead. Some really good racing right there. And then it turned into the roommates to P1 and 2. Mike Conti was just 30 laps away from winning the championship, and it certainly looked like Logan had his back. 26 to go. Keister and Alfala were fading, and so it even looked better for them. And then all of a sudden, heartbreak for Mike Conti. Caution. He had that thing wrapped up.
It was his, right? I mean, he was locked in, pulling away, and to be fair, I joked about this immediately because I kind of thought in my head, like, hey, I shouldn't mention a caution, right? Because you can jinx it or whatever. So I didn't say he doesn't want a caution. I just said, I think I said something about he doesn't want any flags, right? I tried to keep it generic, and then 10 seconds later, I mean, just
you're like
I'm just not gonna bring it up ever again because what a time for the commentator's curse, and then here you go, right? Then it's a whole new race for the second or third time in one race, right? I mean, those critical moments that we'll remember 3-4 years from now, right? Late at Texas. I mean, Conti ends up obviously going to get the win anyway, so it's not as consequential as it could have been. But if he loses that race, that's something that he thinks about for the rest of his sim career, right? So we had a couple of those huge turning point moments, and I honestly thought that this was one of the most, kind of story-rich races of the year, just because there was so much to follow, and I really enjoyed covering it. And, we're still going through the race, but I just wanted to throw that out, that I thought it was, a great stuff to follow. It was really entertaining.
Absolutely. So the caution was Overland as he just nailed the wall, and he took out Shearburn. everyone pits. Now, this was very interesting. Logan clearly is beating Conti off pit road by maybe even a car length.
Oh yeah.
But when they get to the line, it's Conti in first. And so he actually let him have the lead at the line. And then it was Keister, Bolinoff, Alla, Kerwin, Lyon, Davies, Bolton, Bryant, Mullis, Leahy, Lowe for the lineup. 20 to go restart. Alfala's falling through the field, though. The top 5 lines up. Lap 18, caution is out again.
And this is where we get into the, rinse, wash, and repeat, right? Where we keep going and, yellow here and yellow there. And just to make a point, Clampett obviously working with Conti. They're not official teammates, but obviously they're roommates, right? So there's a lot of communication going on there. And I think a part of me, honestly, was a little bit surprised. I think that Logan didn't want to have to make it that obvious, right? If that race goes green, he can kind of sit a car length, 2 car lengths behind him, not really have any intention of passing him, and nobody's none the wiser, right? But then they had to get into the point where I think it started to tiptoe a little bit towards manipulation, and I know that the Cup Series has rules against that. Anything happens, right? You can't penalize Conti. He's just running his race, and Clampett's the one kind of being the blocker. But it wasn't just on pit road where it was obvious, but everybody kind of knew at that point what was happening because on track, Clampett was, blocking for his dear life for second here and there and trying to check up guys on the restarts, doing everything he can to help out Conti.
Yeah, that was interesting. And we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later here. Malik Ray was the reason he actually bobbled and then there was a chain reaction, and Dylan Duval gets tagged and spun. And then you guys interview Logan right after that, and he didn't help himself with what he was saying there. I mean, he kind of said verbally, "Yeah, I'm helping Mike," but he said it in a roundabout way, I'll say.
Yeah, I think he said something about like I'm not gonna incriminate myself, or I'm not gonna just say it, but everybody knows what's happening, right? So I mean, like I said, if it had gone green, then we could have been like, I'm sure Logan wasn't too pressed on letting the 8 car win there because he could, like I said, fast car just sit behind him. I don't think anybody would have been like, he could have easily passed Conti for the win. Conti's really good at that point, but once that happened on pit road, I think they kind of showed their cards, and that kind of tipped everybody else off. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, you're seeing that, and specifically an incident that happens a little bit later. Colin Keister saw that and did not appreciate it because everybody real quickly got pretty sick and tired of the 99.
Well, I've been in that position. When you have teammates in front of you and you're 3rd or 4th, it's a little bit harder than if they're working individually. If they're working as a team, it can be harder. So it was definitely interesting. 13 to go, restart. It was a caution a lap later on the backstretch. It was Eric Smith. He came across the nose of his teammate, Michael Garigula, and spins hard into the wall. Not sure what happened. We talked to Mike on the interview there. He didn't know. It seemed to happen going down the straightaway too, so not sure.
Yeah, and I didn't get a chance to see if Eric had posted or tweeted anything about the incident, but I think I mentioned that's the cardinal rule, right? Don't take out your teammate, and Michael I think was pretty clear. We talked to him, and he's like, I don't know what to do. So curious if Jim shot those guys a text after the race and told them to straighten it out, because I mean I guess you get both cars on TV right in one shot, but that's not an ideal way of doing it.
And Brad Davies was up to 4th for this restart with 7 to go. Now he's teammates with Conti, and was thinking maybe he's going to be able to help too. Garrett Lowe pits for tires here. He's 30th. Somebody said on the radio, "You're going to win this race now," but he didn't.
Which is funny because, if it had gone green, I think it was his crew chief or whoever had said, if this goes green with the fresh tires, you're going to, fly by. But that opening run where we saw the big charge to the race lead by Bryant, it was like 14 or whatever laps difference, and I think it wasn't quite that with all the yellows this time, and there was less time to get to the front, right? So I kind of doubted the call by Garrett Lowe. At that point, though, I think you have to make it right in that context. The funny part is, though, with all the wrecking that still had to happen and the green-white checkered attempt and whatnot, I think if he had actually stayed out, he would have gotten more points and just kind of maintained his position if he had just held it, because he only got back up to 22nd. And I think his difference on points, if he wanted to be in, was a little bit tighter than that. Somewhere, I think it was only 6 points off of Luza, who gets the final spot. So in that moment, was it the right call to make? Yeah, because you can't predict what's going to happen, right? So you're thinking, hey, if I just sit here, not going to do it. The brutal irony is, if you could look into the future, right, and you would have seen that, Mullis was going to get in a wreck and that would have opened up a spot on points, he probably would have stayed. But, that happened a yellow or two later. So it's just the way it goes sometimes. But that's tough. I mean, there were so many people that had such close calls like that where one decision either way could have swung the championship.
Okay, so let's set up here the big moment of the race. 6 to go. Keister's looking for a hole. I mean, it was Conti and then Logan. And Logan was blocking, not like Talladega blocking, but, like Texas blocking. And moving up just a little, moving down just a little, as Keister was getting runs. And it happened, 2-3 times. And then at some point, Keister just gets him a little bit and Logan slips. And it just slips up a half a lane and the whole field has to kind of check. And then boom, 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 big wreck. And, yeah.
Yeah, Keister was over it, right? I mean, I don't know if Colin Keister had a better car than Conti, because, this goes back to the battle they had earlier in the race where, Conti was able to lead for a bit, then Colin got out front. I think those two cars would have been really even, and it would have been a great battle. But at that point, Logan had kind of tipped his hand. Everybody knew that Logan was trying to protect, and, I mean, Colin just drove through him. He had no intentions of lifting. He basically just drove right through the bumper and moved him. But I think you can understand the frustration with Colin. I think that if Conti or if Clampett's not there and Conti's the one throwing blocks, I don't think Keister drives through the bumper of a playoff guy, right? But because Logan's not a playoff guy and he's just kind of playing defense, yeah, he was done.
Yep. It didn't take him long, but and it affected a lot of people there. Leahy was up to 6 somehow for the restart after that. Lowe, Alfala, Luza, Mullis all have issues. Mullis was very heavy damage and no front end. So we're thinking under the caution, boy, he's going to drop like a rock and fall right out of the points, and that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, there's, we'll talk about this last lap, and then I want to highlight 3 of our playoff guys because the last lap changed for all 3 of them, and that's what makes the difference. And obviously it starts there with Mullis getting that damage beforehand, and I mean, if the race ends there, right, if we had just gone to the white, he can limp that thing around for the top 10, he's good. But yeah, he was just junk on that last restart.
Yep, and so at that point, he was up by 19. Leahy was down by 19 points on the cutoff. As they go into green-white checker number 1, we got a restart with Keegan on board. Boy, he was going for it. But Conti gets a great restart. And then they do get the white flag. Keister's in second. Lyon was on second, and Keister goes high on the back. Conti has the advantage. They wreck behind him in that battle for second, and Conti wins, moving into the top 4.
Yeah, I honestly thought Keister was going to win it, and I think he just got hit by Bolin, who was coming up the bottom, who gave Conti a shot, and they all wreck, and Mike Conti gets the race win. So he is moving on to fight for the championship. And then here's the 3 things I want to highlight. So you already mentioned number 1, Jimmy Mullis with the damage. He fell all the way to 22nd, I think, and that takes him out of the points. He was in on the last, the white flag lap of this race. He's out when it's done. So the driver who gets in is going to be Ryan Luza. Luza finished only, I think it was 3 points ahead of the next closest driver, Mullis. It was 3. So you had Mullis falling out. Luza gets in by 3 points. Luza finished ahead of 3 cars that were 3 wide. So if he was behind those 3 cars, I think it was McCollum, Guerrilla, and Kerwin, if Luza's behind them, he's out. Mullis is still in by 1. And then also for Keegan Leahy. Leahy was in about 5th position or so on the last lap of this race. In fact, on the back straightaway, yeah, he was 5th, right behind those 2 sets of 2. He gets in a wreck, falls to 11th. That is a 6-point swing, and he missed it by 4. So there were so many different ways that white flag lap alone could have had Leahy in, could have had Mullis in, but instead it ends up with Luz in. All of that within 1.5 miles. It was pretty crazy.
It's crazy. We race all season, and it comes down to the white flag. The way the points are structured and the way it's just great. Brad Davies second. Wow, great run. That's Junior Motorsports up front for team 1-2. That's great. Bobby Zielinski. I didn't mention his name once. Where did he come from? He's third from nowhere. And then I think Ottinger was 7th. Keegan was 11th. Mullis 31st.
And I don't think we mentioned Bobby's name once either. We were joking about that with him when we talked to him, right? I mean, he was nowhere to be found, despite the fact that he started 4th, right? I mean, he was the guy that just got on that back cycle a little bit with the pit strategy and the differences early and just kind of rode around, but he kept the car clean, right? I mean, a lot of guys walking away with incidents, 4Xs and 8 incident points, whatever. Zielinski didn't get a single, major bit of damage and was, 6th on the white flag lap. But when they all wreck, finds a hole and gets 3rd. And, maybe it's going to take something like that, like a quiet night, right? Because when you look at our 4 guys, I don't think Bobby's somebody who's going to go out and lead every lap at Homestead. He does have some wins, on the ovals now. We talk so much about him being the road course guy, and he has a win at the super speedway in Daytona, but obviously that's not a direct translation to the intermediate. So maybe that's what Bobby needs to do on Monday, right? Is just qualify top 5 and be there. As long as you're there, then you have a chance, and maybe that's going to be the strategy. Not to discredit, Bobby's talent. He's one of, probably top 3 drivers in this series, but just based on his finishing results at these kind of tracks this year, then maybe that's going to be what they go for.
Okay, so what did we learn? Don't mess with Colin Keister.
Nope.
So that's some of the talk after the race. Post-race, I was on the Twitter, on the tweet. Kevin King, who's been around iRacing a long time, he posted up, "You block, you pay. Then the field gets destroyed when you get sent." Impressive.
Well, there's been a lot of that, right? And it's you mentioned, it wasn't blocking; it was Texas blocking. I think now we can just call it Cup blocking, because that's how you have to drive these cars. These are not the cars that you break at Texas with anymore. Not the cars that you lift, at these intermediates or break at these intermediates with. It's all about the positioning and. Fortunately, Conti had somebody to do his dirty work for him, which was a little bit less consequential because, like I said, I don't think Colin would have driven through Conti if Conti was throwing the blocks, but maybe Conti goes through a block and spins it out across somebody's nose, right, and takes himself out of the race. But that's what this point structure, as you mentioned, makes these drivers do. So I think it's a little bit more of don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah, and it's always bittersweet to see people like Jimmy Mullis and Keegan Leahy, tweet out their thoughts after the race of what could have been. They both, like you said, if things had just gone just a little bit different in the white flag, these guys would have been in.
So many, like all 3 of them, if the finishing results had gone 5 positions this way, 5 positions that way, could have been Leahy in. It could have been Mullis in. So watch for those 2 guys, right? Because they're going to have a point to prove where if we had our top 4, I would have probably, if they were in it, Leahy and Mullis would have been probably 1-2 in some sort of order. If I had to, give you a mock-up of how I think it finishes. They're both out. So historically, with this current format, you've had to win the race to get the championship, but I think that your championship 4 still need to kind of buy into that mentality. But at the same time, Mullis and Leahy are going to have a point to prove, and honestly, I don't know how much better it will make either of those guys feel if they go out and run good. Leahy probably has a real good look at winning that race. I don't know if I'd rather, being him win the race and then be like, see, if I just didn't wreck, out of turn 4, I'd have $100,000 right now. if I'm Keegan, I'd almost rather run awful, so that I'm not haunted with what could have been. Because especially as we've kind of touched on all year, with how much respect Keegan raced Zach with last year, I think he deserved some luck, right? And he didn't get it, and that's it's the way it is in racing, right? I mean, a lot of the time there's no justice.
He's the Denny Hamlin of iRacing. I don't know. That's a compliment, but Denny's kind of been in those positions too, where you're close, but you just didn't get it. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Martin as well. I know a lot of people throw that one out too.
Exactly. Very clean racer. Well, Evan, it's been fun talking this race. This was a good one. I've been looking forward to the playoffs and the storyline to go with it, and we certainly had them with this one. And I think next week is going to be no different, obviously. So Monday night, Tuesday's the election, so I guess it's Monday night is a good idea, I realize.
Yeah, so we moved it up a day, which is funny because I run a league on Mondays, so my league stuff had to get pushed to Tuesday, so that I can be there. But yeah, so we're Monday and we're an hour earlier. So if you're trying to tune in, don't forget we're going to be on Monday the 2nd, and it will be an 8:00 p.m. Eastern time start instead of 9. So a day earlier and an hour earlier. Full broadcast, as always, on all the iRacing and NASCAR social channels. eNASCAR.com is the easiest place to find it, and there's going to be a ton of content, I'm sure, from Steve and everybody over the course of the week on there. And then I don't know the exact timing yet, but I know NBCSN is going to have an hour-long version of that broadcast. I don't remember if it's either after the Cup Martinsville race or it's after the Cup race at Phoenix. I don't have confirmation on that yet. I'm sure it's out there, but if you missed it, that'll be a good way to catch up as well.
I think it was right after. I heard right after the Phoenix race, they're going to showcase it.
Because I think it was originally Martinsville, and it got switched because we were supposed to be full on TV after Martinsville, and that's why I think it's just an hour after the Cup thing on Phoenix. So I agree with you. I think that's what it is, but I'll plug eNASCAR.com again to double check, and you can follow me on Twitter and everybody else in the sim racing space, and I promise you we'll be talking about it. So hope everybody tunes in on Monday, and of course give us some support as well on NBC, because if people tune in and watch that gives us a better chance to get some of those dates back for full races on TV headed into next year that we should have had this time.
Yeah, and it's coming. We're getting to that point. It's been a good year for Coke Racing and broadcast and everything that's happened, and looking forward to this final event. It's going to be a heck of a race. Conti's got some momentum, but Bobby has just been there every week, and Ryan Luza had some crazy luck, but then there's Silent Nick just kind of waiting in the wings. So lots of storylines.
Yeah, I mean, Nick is somebody who I think gets overlooked so much, even by myself, right? And you mentioned Silent Nick. He's probably, speed-wise and one of the veterans in this series. I mean, he's got a real good look. Because like I said, I think Bobby is going to need to have a good car and a little bit of good timing. If it's strategy, if it's luck, whatever it is to get the job done. You got Conti, who I think's got a real good opportunity to just go out there and win the race. You talk about Luza, who can easily win at Homestead. We've seen that in the past, but he hasn't been great, right, in the second half of the season. So he needs to turn things around and kind of get back to his old form. And there's all those different stories coming together. It's going to be an awesome race. I think that obviously with it being the same points as you have in Cup on its surface, our schedule's shorter, right? So we can't, do it ideally. My favorite playoff format in NASCAR was always just the 10 race chase, points on through. So you don't get, the best car all year is not out from one bad week. And, Keegan probably deserves to be there. He's, I think, that guy. But one thing that I don't think anybody can deny is it is damn entertaining to watch. So 4 drivers and $100,000 to the guy who finishes ahead of the rest of the, those other 3. You're not going to want to miss it.
All right. So one more time, Evan, can you come on one more time and we'll talk Homestead next Thursday? We sure appreciate you coming on this year and talking racing. It's really been a blessing for our listeners to just get some, race review of what we've seen. And it's kind of nice to digest it after the fact.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll catch you guys on Thursday, and hopefully, everybody enjoys the race, and I hope that it's an exciting one. I think it's been for what a wild year it was, right? Not only on the track but off the track. I think we deserve a good finish. So hope everybody tunes in on Monday, and I'll chat with you guys next week.
All right, very good. We're looking forward to it. Thanks for coming on.
Yep, see you guys.
All right, David, you got to pick us up back into stories.
Yeah, we've got a guy that posted a message asking if he could get rid of some of the reverb on his engine sounds. And staffer Greg West, who happens to also be a kind of a colleague in the podcast world, pointed out that if they're getting reverb in their engine sound, it might be that they have the LFE settings turned on, and you only want those on if you actually have a bass shaker. David Tucker, sound engineer or sound man, also pointed out that your LFE should be separately connected rather through your speakers, not by a Y cable, which is something that just splits the same signal. And if for some reason you wanted to run LFE effects through your speakers, you can change it in the app INI. But an LFE or a bass shaker is basically a subsonic type of effect. It's not actually a speaker, and so some of those frequencies are way lower. And when you put those signals, you mix those signals in with regular sound, it can actually cause some weird effects.
I don't know. It causes effects I actually like. I'm actually running it the wrong way, as they call it. So I mentioned this, I think, last week briefly, but they made a change on Wednesday, I think, and it affected me on Thursday right before the recording. But basically, there's a app INI setting where you can flip a switch and set it back to the way it was, and that's what I did. But I have LFE turned on, and I don't have one of those things. I just have a big old subwoofer behind my seat, and that LFE is feeding that subwoofer. And yes, there is reverb, but I like it. It adds to the rumble of the car engine. This is a $500 subwoofer that's built for a living room sound system, very high end, and it goes very low decibels, and it can replicate a lot of what a bass shaker can do. And it's been working for me, and so I was kind of shocked when it happened, so I changed it back. But there's other people that have posted. There's another forum post here from Benjamin Johnson saying the car sounds in Season 4 patch are awful. And basically he probably had it set up the same way I did or something, and they made this change, and now it's different. So check your LFE settings if you think your sound is different.
And just to pitch in on that, I actually would rather recommend just not using LFE on iRacing at all. Even if you have a bass shaker, because that's what I have. I have bass shakers, but I don't use the LFE on the iRacing settings. I use that third-party app, SimHub, and it gives you a lot more different options of how to set that LFE up. You can set it for road rumble, you can set it for RPMs, and you can change those and variate those. So I think a third-party app is a lot better for an LFE anyway. So that's what would be my recommendation if you do have a bass shaker.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because before they added the LFE functionality, my subwoofer really wasn't working. I mean, you could turn up the engine sound and it would just barely even move. You couldn't really hear it. And so when they added this functionality, which is basically David Tucker putting into the sim a way to use an LFE shaker without that software that you mentioned. You can use this rudimentary built-in software, or you could go get the thing Brian mentioned. But you don't want to do both. You want to do one or the other. But when they added that, it really it brought my subwoofer alive, so to speak, and I love it the way it was. I got it tweaked in such a way where I have all the engine sounds turned way down, and I have the LFE turned way up, just to get the right mix with my two front speakers compared to the sub.
Tony, I know you're going to talk a little bit later about all the rain, probably in the fantasy pick, but how about rain in iRacing?
Yeah, that might just come up a little later on as well. So it says in our title, it says today's patch, but this is actually from last week. But it's worth talking about anyways. That Luke Dowding pointed out that they're fixing an issue in the Dallara F3 with a missing rain switch toggle. Just alluding to that. It's coming, but now they've already said that they are working on this, but it's not going to be here this year. So probably next year. Could we speculate maybe March? Probably a little later on. It sounds to me like it would be a kind of a complicated thing to implement.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess the question is why did they leave the switch off the car to begin with, and then now they want to add it? Oh, maybe because we're having rain?
Yeah, I'd kind of be surprised if that was a high priority, that rain, because I mean, I'm sure it's a huge project to tackle, to add rain to the game and all the different effects that it has on the vehicles, and it's not going to be used on like oval racing. It doesn't have rain. Dirt racing is not going to have rain. So I don't know. I'm just not sure how high prioritized that process is for rain.
Well, didn't you see all the tweets of people wanting to run oval? Even Junior said today that he thinks they could try rain tires on ovals.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I saw a nice response to that idea. I don't think it was a direct reply to him, showing one of the jet dryers barely even able to stay up on the banking with the road being wet.
And the jet dryer has like groove tires, like a regular street car.
Yeah, groove tires and extra hardware, on top of it, and it just I can't hold on to the banking, and it's sliding, and that's going 5 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour.
Yeah, when I was watching the Roval race at Charlotte when they had the rain, those cars did not look stable in the oval part of the track at all. They looked damn scary.
Sketchy.
Well, and they weren't anywhere close to what an oval is, because of all the chicanes that kept those speeds down. But trying to do it in an oval where the cars are tweaked to just turn left, it just seems illogical.
I'd love it as this one. This happens, 2 or 3 times a year. You're at Martinsville and it's green, and all of a sudden you're getting drops of water on the windshield, just a few, and maybe a little more. And then all of a sudden the caution comes out. Well, we got caution for rain. Oh, it looks like it let up. Okay, we're going back green. Just something like that. Just, some random weather event.
That would be great for an NIS race that already had about 125 caution laps last night. That would be.
Yeah,
we really need another caution.
So I just wanted to jump in here, like when Junior was talking about racing ovals in rain, he was more alluding to a situation like we just faced at Texas, where it's very, very light, like a mist. The ground is just getting a little bit wet. He said, like, situation like Charlotte at the Roval, like you could never do that at a normal oval. It would have to be just a really, really light rain. And for iRacing to kind of mimic that, I don't think that would be. I think that would be just. Well, what's the point? Why don't you just have no rain at ovals in iRacing?
Right. Let's just have it for road. Let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, you're speaking about it being a priority. Well, one of the things that probably has to be a priority is the fact that multi-groove racing is gone since Tire Model 7.
Yeah, and that's the next topic. Brennan McGee put up in the forums a lively discussion suggesting that multi-groove racing has been absent in oval racing ever since the release of this V7 tire model. Tyler Hudson did chime in that it's been frustrating for everyone, including some of the pro drivers. He said it's a complex problem, but assures everyone that they're working hard on correcting the issue. So, I like it. It's an acknowledgement. Hey, you know, we see this too. We're thinking about it. We're trying to figure out what to do.
And I would definitely say thank you for working on this before putting rain in.
Exactly. There's a priority, right?
My question is the tire model too close to accurate? Because you know, there's not a whole lot of multi-group racing in Cup class anyway.
Well, yeah, no. The main thing with the Cup cars, it's just that package you can't pass.
Right. That is true. Yes.
To pass, you have to have time off the throttle. Period. This package sucks, but we're stuck with it.
So who's ready for some Saturday night NIS racing?
No.
Well, well, Eric Papanow is, because he enjoys NIS racing. He posted this in the forums. He really likes NSI racing, but the times that are normally scheduled are just really not the best for him. And he proposed that iRacing add a Saturday night race to the schedule. And even in the forums, he posted up a 30-day poll. If you guys want to go to the forums and check it out, you can put in your 2 cents whether you think a Saturday night race would be good in NIS.
Now, are there 5 fixed races, if I'm remembering right?
It's like 6 of one, 5 of the other.
There's only 4 open.
Yeah, maybe it's something like that. They're not.
Yeah, there's
they're
like
not equal.
Yeah, there's one more fixed. So
yeah,
I would be happy with a Saturday night open.
Yeah, there's 5 fixed and 4 open. So yeah, if you just add 1 open, I don't think that would be a big deal. Just having 5 and 5.
I know, and it looks like the votes are for yes. We should do it. 59% of the people who voted say yes, 20% no, 21% said maybe with more conversation.
And it doesn't have to be Saturday night. It could be like an earlier afternoon, like even a 4 p.m. or something.
My thing is historical. I mean, we've had these time slots traditionally, historically, for years now. And now you want to change them, you know? How many years have we been doing this?
Well, is it going to break anything? Is there really a con other than tradition for tradition's sake?
Well, for the glory of the stats, but you can't even look up good stats, so I guess not.
Yeah, I think it would be less of a problem if they just added the 1. You know, keep the same days that everybody's been used to for years.
So should we talk about daylight savings time now in NIS? Which is coming this weekend, right?
I was going to say something about that.
So the running bet is, am I going to miss an NIS race next week because of time zone? And
well, next
I usually
week
do.
you would be there early, right? Next week you would be there early.
But here's the thing, David, you and I were talking about this the other day.
Yeah. What happens with NIS is some races move with our time zone to where they stay the same for everybody who shifts. Some races don't. And so for Mike, the opposite is the case. All of the races that stay the same for us move for him, and the races that change for us stay the same for him.
Yeah, it's crystal clear for me. Yep.
We're gonna have to come up with some, like daylight savings time GIF specifically geared to you, and all of us will just spam your phone all day so you don't miss anything.
But here's what you do. On Monday morning, you just go look at the session times with the website. You know, you can actually see
my alarm,
when the races are, and set an alarm on your phones with the current times. Because once the time is shifted, on the website, it always gives you your local time.
I always think about that, but then I get caught up in life, and it's just like, this is my normal routine, and I get into it, and then all of a sudden everything's different, and yeah, it just throws me off. But we'll see if we can not screw it up this week.
Yeah, from what I'm looking at the schedule, I think as far as open goes, Thursday is the only day that's different with daylight savings.
Oh, isn't the Sunday morning one too?
No, one of the Saturdays moves.
The Saturday? The fix, maybe?
In the fix, yes.
Yeah, I think the really early Saturday one ends up getting shifted
That's right.
because those are Aussie races, basically.
I guess I'd be okay with it. I did vote no, but I'd be okay with it.
Tony, do you have your tux ready?
Yeah, sure do. Just getting steam cleaned as we speak. So this this has got to be new. The VCO Simi Awards. That's Virtual Competition Organization. I say they bring together different stakeholders in esports from simulation or gaming platforms and interested partners to active teams, drivers, community. Yeah, we got an awards deal happening this year. And what do they do? What do we win? It's like $1,000 to the charity of choice of whoever wins in the various categories. So the categories that we have so far here is best esports racer, best real world pro, best team, platform, car, event, social media, newcomer, hardware, commentary, Hall of Famer. And I was kind of checking it out a little bit. I went in to see if you could, like, how the voting works, and basically they give you a choice for each category. You can nominate 5 people, and you just type in their actual names. They're not on a drop down list or like a multiple choice thing, and that's how they do it now. A date for this as to when this happens.
It's December 26th is the 2020 VCO Simi Awards. This nomination stage happens until November 25th, and then they're going to have a voting stage after that up to December 6th. So I think what they do is everyone nominates, and then they're going to have a drop-down list that we can actually vote from.
Okay, that's how they're going to work it. Well, that kind of makes sense then too. So how do we?
So I think the iRacers Lounge podcast would probably fall under best commentary. But Evan Pasoko had also told me that he might fall under best commentary as a commentator. So I don't know if podcasting fits into that or not. I hope it does, because I actually went in and nominated the iRacers Lounge podcast on our behalf.
I may second that.
Yeah, and I would love the listeners to do that too, because I think the more nominations you get, the more chance that you have to get into the voting. So if you guys could go search this VCO Simi Awards and put in a vote for us, I'd appreciate it. Vote for our friend Evan as well.
Well, I actually have an address here, and it's really goofy, so bear with me. It's v-c-o.info, and then /simi-nominations will take you right to the voting. But if you search VCO Simi Awards, it'll probably be a lot easier, a lot quicker, or v-c-o.info should get you pretty close to it.
Yeah, and this was fun for me to participate in, to go through the nominations. Some of the nominations, like best car. Well, guess what? I put the '87 NASCAR Legends car was the best car of 2020, easy. And then the best event. Well, I picked that event that Kyle Larson got in trouble on, Mother's Day evening. What was it called? The Monza Madness by Landon Castle. So I thought that might be the best event of the year. Best hardware. What did I put? I forget what I put.
Is this new hardware, you think, or just anything that's out there?
I don't know. It's not a very specific category. It literally has two words: best hardware.
Yeah, I would say anything that's been out, even if it's a little older.
I'd have to throw in the 217 as a competitor to that 87 because even though I haven't bought it myself, it's made racing in both the IMSA series and Le Mans series better.
And then like best platform, well, duh, it's iRacing. But I struggled with other ones like Hall of Famer. I mean, you know,
That's
who
kinda
do you pick? You know,
that's kind of vague.
Do we have enough history yet to really start making a Hall of Fame?
exactly. And you know,
I would for Hall of Famer, I would probably put Ray Alfal. I think.
and then best real world pro. I guess that's also a sim racer is what they're looking for. But you know, there's so many to choose from there. You got all the IndyCar guys and the NASCAR guys who did so good this spring during the virus stuff. There, you know, and you got Max Verstappen and you know, Lando, and there's so many people. You know, I think I put Lando.
Well, the highest I rating is in oval is by a pro driver, right?
There you go. And like Tony said, there's multiple boxes. You can nominate multiple people, and so I was going into this quick to try to, you know, see what it was about, but it'll take you, you know, 20, 30 minutes to go through if you're going to fill it out. And, you know, so check it out. It's kind of fun, and I hope we get involved somehow.
We got Mike Morley up on the chat voting Maximilian Beneke for Hall of Famer.
There you go.
So I wonder if anybody's going to vote for the Corvette C8R for the best new car.
Well, it does have its own series. I don't know if that'll help or not. Well, it's kind of a series. This is a special competition that's being put up by Corvette. And when you actually go and open the official rules, it feels like I'm looking at, you know, some kind of legalese contract. As you look at it, and it's a whole bunch of legalese. The prize, the grand prize, is a Corvette C8R watch, and the way I basically can understand this is there's going to be a certain time period of time trials.
In that car.
And I'm going to have to, in that car, it's going to go from, I'm sorry, I had it pulled up. I'm going to have to click back.
Well, it's happening now, I think, and
Yeah,
it goes till November 21st. And that's where
Right.
They're going to have a race on November 21st.
Yeah, the race will consist of the top 40 drivers, as well as 10 celebrities who are not eligible for the prize. It actually started on the 26th. Yeah, I had the wrong page open. So yeah, you can run as many times as you want, and then the top so many qualifiers are going in and can race for a watch. That's the top prize, and and then there's some runner-up prizes, which is a helmet with a custom Corvette racing decoration.
This
That's
is
worth about
U.S. only,
$500.
though.
Yep, that's right. It is U.S. only because Greg was like, "I'm going to run it. I'm going to run it," and then he's like, "I'm not going to run it."
That's a bummer. It's U.S. only. I don't know why, but yeah, if you want to get involved, you got to get in the time attack for that particular car. And he said to avoid confusion on the time attack, we disabled the Corvette time attack during the qualifying period. We will turn it back on when qualifying is complete. So I guess if you go on the new UI, you'll see it. Pretty cool. Moving on, we got an email from a listener with about a previous story about the supercars, and it was Alex Stelbovics from Perth, Western Australia. He going to impart some knowledge on us about these supercars, so I'm going to read a little bit about what he wrote here. In the mid-90s, we had a couple of oval tracks we raced, but that series here was using past Xfinity cars brought in from the USA. Supercars have never raced on any oval series down under, unfortunately, although they would perform right up there in Cup, I do believe. Fuel injection, they're not carburetors. As for the Holden, they were our beloved family saloon cars in Australia to your Chevys in the USA, but were often more compact and lighter bodied from the 50s through the mid 2000s with better handling, and since the late 70s took a distinct European design and handling car, the Holden Commodore, with a muscled 5-liter GM V8 through to the late 90s, and in the 2000s a 6.2-liter LS3 Chevy V8. The V8 Supercar series has been predominantly 5-liter V8 since the mid-80s and exclusively so since the late 90s. A real tragedy that the GM arm from the USA decided to shut down our beloved independently designed Aussie car manufacturing here down under. It's like Ford USA closing to the local American on the street. It's tragic. Keep up the great work. Shout out to David Hall.
What?
Well, I didn't know all that, but thank you, Alex, for letting us know. We were talking about if we could race those cars on oval.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be a little weird because you're on the right side, you know. So on to the left turning, when you're used to a left seater and putting out right on the line, that can cause problems. I keep putting the IndyCar on ovals on the apron for the same reason.
Yeah, it threw me off. I was running supercars at Pocono, and I kept running into the wall because I'm on the wrong side of the car.
All right, guys. There's been a thread in the forum talking about AI, and Jacob Grinstead, he threw in his 2 cents and asked, how about dirt and oval road cars with the AI? And Tyler Hudson from the staff at iRacing, he actually he jumped into the forum and he said that dirt AI is actually on the list. So, but it requires a whole new model has to be like built from scratch to really work properly, because of how different dirt and asphalt drive. You know, he mentioned that dirt, you drive a lot more with your feet. You know, you steer a lot more with your feet than you do with the steering wheel. So it's like a whole different model they had to do to make dirt AI cars, but apparently they're working on it.
Man, that's great. I mean, I kind of suck at dirt, and it would be great to jump in with some AI to try to get better, you know, and see if I can get my times up. Because when you get in these practices, these guys are either aliens or they can't drive at all. There's really no in between, and it's kind of hard to practice around other people.
It was quite a challenge when the majors was there, but we did get to do practice races every night. In fact, they changed their format up a little for qualifying that week, and your qualifying was actually through running practice races. Because, you know, turning practice laps only tells you so much unless you're trying to test for specific things. When you're just trying to build track experience, I've always found it better to run a few practice laps and then just go ahead and get a race in. You know, that's why I tend to run. When I run A-Open, I almost don't care about the results as much as being able to stay in the race and just understand how the set's going to drive.
Right.
Yeah, I think dirt AI would be really good, especially when you get to the cars that you have to tweak setups on. You know, the 305s are fun. You can jump in them anytime because it's always a fixed setup race. But if once you jump from the 305s to the 360s or the 410s, you know, you really have to start learning how to use your do changes on the car to make you faster. Otherwise, if you use a baseline setup, you're going to get blown away. And AI races would be pretty good for learning how to do that while in traffic.
And there is a difference between how that dirt handles if you set it to 100% to start at 100% versus if it gets driven to 100%. Having through heat races and such and LCQs, etc. Back to the pavement side, we have a recap video. It's about 2 minutes long, and the majority of it was basically showing each winner of the race as well as the final victory, which who was the champion?
Sebastian Job.
Sebastian Job. Yeah, that's right. Um, so it showed him at the end. Uh, Definitely nice and dramatic, and it's always really neat when you see something like this that compresses a year's worth of season down into 2 minutes. It almost gives you this kind of surreal feeling.
Oh yeah, I didn't really follow this series because I work on this day, and it's fun to watch this because I did miss some great racing. We probably should have covered it a little bit better, but this video really shows us what we missed. It shows you all the great highlights throughout the various events, and then who was winning, as they went from week to week. And, you start seeing the same names as they pop up in the video. And sure enough, Sebastian Job is the one who brought it home.
I love that they use European announcers for that series too. It gives it a sense of credibility for some reason. I don't know why, but it just seems more credible that way.
It does.
So, Brian, we spent all year talking about how iRacing has affected real life racing during this pandemic. And never mind, I'm going to cut that part because we just jumped way too far ahead, didn't we?
I don't know.
A bit.
Yeah,
A bit, yes.
I'll just cut this little segment out, so it won't be on the show. That's me reading ahead and getting ahead of myself. So forget I said that.
So Tony, how's your relationship at home?
Mine is great, and there's very specific reason why. Hopefully, Natalie Decker will listen to this show and get a little insight. So, anyways, she's tweeting that her and her boyfriend's relationship is absolute bliss, except when they fight over the iRacing. So there's only one way around that. You build two rigs. I mean, I had the same issues, and we're back in bliss. What can I say?
You found the answer. Natalie needs to figure that out. Yeah, she put up on the twit, hey, I swear my boyfriend and I only fight over iRacing.
Yeah, which I fully understand. I've been in those shoes. Yeah, there is really only one solution to that problem. Got to have two rigs.
She needs one of them double-decker rigs.
Oh.
Zing.
Yeah, that one. That I'm dumbfounded on that one. Just speaking, I'm just going to move on to the next topic. Manual blipping or auto blipping? We have a post from John McCutcheon, and he's wondering whether people auto blip or manually blip. Then we get a recommendation from staff David Tucker that you shouldn't really turn many of the aids off until you've gotten comfortable with the sim. Now, I would bet a lot of our listeners have been, running for quite a while. For me, I generally tend to manually blip just because I've been told you get a little bit better performance that way.
If you can do it correctly every single time, which I can't. So I do auto blip myself. It just makes it easy. I don't know. I for a while I did the manual blip thinking I want it realistic. I want it to, but then you go grinding gears and you don't have the right RPM to shift gear and everyone going by you because you can't get it in gear. Yeah, I'll turn the auto blip back on.
Well, the only car that I've really had to actually manually blip was the V8. When you downshift with it, you have to tap the throttle to get it to downshift, but you don't have to tap the throttle to get it to upshift. I believe it was the Lotus. You actually had to get on the clutch or get off the gas to get it to upshift. But that's not too bad if you have the manual clutch or the handheld clutch. I mean, because I could just pull the clutch and the shifter at the same time.
One thing I noticed was when I have 3 pedals, and so when I map my clutch pedal or calibrate it, it turns the auto blip off, and then I can go back and turn it back on. But then I can still have a clutch, but I have it set where it doesn't, kill the engine if you stall it and all that.
Yeah, that's when I had to keep on because especially when I'm listening to either a podcast or music all the time, I can't tell if the engine's dead.
So quite a long post, a lot of different people putting in their 2 cents. It looks like people are doing it both ways. Some people say it's faster to do it manually, and then one guy said here, I do it out of sheer laziness, the auto blip. So that's me probably.
So, guys, move over. Woodward and Bernstein. iRacing has an article in the Washington Post this week, which is really cool. Yeah, the Washington Post. They put an article. It was written by Gregory Leporati. That's I hope I didn't butcher his name, but so he posted an article talking about iRacing. He has the headline that iRacing has boosted NASCAR during the pandemic. Now esports may help shape racing's future. So the story is pretty in depth. I read the whole thing. It was, started with Chase Briscoe, who we all know now, just moved up to the Cup Series, and how he started sim racing when he was a kid on his father's NASCAR Racing 2003 system, and how he uses iRacing today. Briscoe says that it's a very valuable asset for him to have, especially on new tracks that he hasn't been to. He talks to the NASCAR's digital VP guy who talks a little bit of how NASCAR and iRacing have teamed together. Even Michael Conti's in this article has a couple of quotes. So it's a really interesting article. But one of the things I wanted to mention about this article is that it kind of rephrased the question. Like during the pandemic, when iRacing was front and center when the NASCAR series was on pandemic lockdowns, everybody was thinking what great things NASCAR did for iRacing. But this one kind of rephrases it what iRacing is doing for NASCAR. What kind of interest NASCAR is receiving through iRacing. So I thought that was an interesting way that they approached the topic, and it kind of really emphasizes how important iRacing and esports in general, I guess, has been to NASCAR.
Yeah, one quote here I liked at the end. It said, Chase Briscoe would like to see an eNASCAR create a more clearly defined pipeline from sim to real life racing. He said, maybe the champion of eNASCAR could get a sponsorship from Alienware or some other tech company and get the chance to drive in an ARCA car or ARCA race one time. That would be pretty cool. And another neat quote was a Mike Conti talking about how the sport has grown. He said, when I first started, I was making $5 a race on a sponsorship deal, Conti added. We would average maybe 100 or 200 people watching us. And now more than 10,000 people are watching this year, which is a massive compared to where it started.
Yeah, and Steve Myers is also from iRacing is in this story, and he was saying when they first started these races on TV that we started in March, and there were some reservations. Like people in the industry were saying, "What are we really playing video games now?" But like it only took a few weeks before everyone realized that this isn't only great way to connect with fans, but a great way to make new fans. And I think that's one of the great things about iRacing is they're creating, a next generation of NASCAR fans, not necessarily always through the actual series itself.
Yeah, he said 2 million TV viewers tuned into the series that had not previously watched a NASCAR race that season. And so those were new eyeballs on NASCAR, and it was because they were running iRacing, not their regular races. And it brought those extra eyeballs in.
Yeah, so it's a good, really good article if anybody wants to look at it in the Washington Post. So yeah, take a chance to take a look at it.
Okay. Next up, a hot fix number 1 for season 4, patch 4. And it came out this morning. It was pretty small. It installed quickly. Here's what it is. It's mostly racing UI, or beta UI, I'll call it. But they added a new tab to the account window, connection, where you can set up your connection within the beta UI now. And iRacing dollars are finally back, where you can gift iRacing dollars to other members or whatnot. There's a new button in the store for that. Those iRacing dollars. What else they got? Price list has been updated. Not going to get into the details of that. They've updated the search box a little bit. Current series and up next has been reformatted. Track maps, they continue to add those. They fixed some issue with the loading screen. And they also added the stuff into the actual website for the iRacing dollars. So they fixed the sim as far as race control. It says the code that computes the pit exit delay at the start of the race has been updated to allow for a variety of new cases, including the Crandon Raceway Land Rush. So I guess that's a fix for that Land Rush start.
That's good. I know a lot of people have been waiting for that. That's cool.
They gave some updates to the ARCA damage model.
Looks like if you run the Wild Horse track, they add a jersey barrier to prevent cutting the tabletop jump, so that you can't cut that jump anymore.
Uh-huh. Okay, nice little release. Let's get into housekeeping notes. Don't really have anything besides check our show notes, guys. Everything we talk about is in writing, and you guys can follow along by clicking the links in our show notes. It's a PDF. In the description of this podcast, there's a link. You want to send us stories or get involved and tell us what we're doing wrong, like the guy from Australia when he schooled us on supercars. Send us an email, iRacersLounge@gmail.com. We love to be told that we're wrong, and we'll fix it, we'll correct it. We want to give out good information to our listeners, and this is a community, guys, and it's a community effort. We want everyone to be involved. We're happy to have you guys send us stuff, so please do. And with that, we'll jump over to fantasy. Tony.
Well, I won't make this chat as long as it took to get the darn race in. Holy cow.
Days and days.
I know I've not seen something like that in the time that I've followed NASCAR. That was insane. And then the rest of the race, I don't know. I kind of was just like, nah, it was all right, but maybe I was just burnt out from waiting all week for it to actually get in.
Yeah, I completely missed it, to tell you the truth. I was working. I didn't even know they were running.
Yeah, well, thankfully, like I missed the first bunch of laps. I missed when Kenseth and Bubba got into each other, but I was able to click it on just shortly thereafter. But fantasy-wise, oh boy, I did terrible. I did absolutely terrible. But I think that kind of happened to the majority of us. Although I did notice one very interesting thing as I was following along throughout the race, that now that the playoffs have started, I don't know, this is the first time I've noticed it, but it's only actually calculating the active people. So I think we've got 16 or 17 that are still active, which is pretty darn good. I mean, we had over 32 sign up, at the beginning of the year, and we still have over half of those guys hanging in there till the very end. So I plan on doing this again next year, and hopefully we can get even more people to join in. But yeah, just a couple races left. It's down to the crunch, and I'm still in the lead by about 100 points. Second place, Resdog, he's trying. He's doing what he can to get up there. I don't know. Time's ticking away. I'm not gonna say it's in the bag, but I'm pretty confident that I can hold these guys off for the next 2 races. But I'd be very happy to see somebody take that over, because that'd be some great picks and some terrible picks on my part. G.I. Jojo's in 3rd place, Smiling Ninjas in 4th, Kerry Cial is in 5th, Justin Times 6th, Laird Racing is in 7th, Jedi McFly is still in 8th, Romance Girl is in 9th, and Team 207 rounds out our top 10. And I wanted to give a special shout out to my Aftermath buddy, Mr. Rochette. He was down very, very far not all that long ago, and he's got himself up into the 12th position. And he missed out on most of the season because he was following along in an old league that we had that nobody's a part of anymore. And when he got the memo, he had one heck of a hill to climb, but he's made his way up there. I mean, that's a valiant effort. 12th place. So on to Martinsville this week. Better be a good one. We don't need a 4-day race this time around. Let's just get her done one day. Have a lot of fun. Some door banging. Can't wait.
Yeah, and Phoenix, and I think I'm off that day, so I don't know if I'm going to go out there or not. Maybe if we'll see if somebody. Usually, I get a free ticket from one of my friends. I'm kind of waiting for that.
Oh, that's awesome. I keep forgetting that Phoenix is finishing off the season right in your backyard. Man, that'd be a heck of an experience.
You know, I've never seen a championship race, at least on the Cup level, play out, on the final race. Now, I have been at Phoenix when the Xfinity and the Truck Series wraps up at Phoenix a week early. I've been there for those moments, and they've been pretty cool. And so it's, I'm thinking I shouldn't miss it. So I'll probably go. We'll see.
Well, that'd be good. Post up some trackside pictures and all the hoopla that they have surrounding the last race of the year.
Should be fun. All right, well, let's jump into hardware, software. And Brian, you got the first one. It's a Halloween special.
Yeah, guys, if anyone out there is interested in the Huiskenveld products,
Huiskenveld.
Huiskenveld, yeah, that's what I said. Huiskenveld. If anyone's interested in any of those products, SimMotion is running a Halloween special on any of the Huiskenveld products. That starts now through November 1st. You can get 5% off of your order. Just use the promo code 5, that's the letters, F-I-V-E, to get 5% off your Sprint or Ultimate pedals, as well as the sequential shifter. So you got until Monday to get that promotion if you're interested in those pedals or shifters.
So that's that company, sim-motion.com, that Darren Ganji is involved with, and they're U.S. distributors of this Huiskenvelds.
So, have we talked about these new AMD cards that are in the next topic?
No, they just came out this week, so this is first time.
Well, I guess might be part of why the hype's not out yet. I don't know. We have a forum member that's complaining about the hype not being out about the new AMD Radeon 6000 GPU. He says it's not getting quite as much coverage, I guess, as the NVIDIA 3000 series launch. And other than that, I don't know that much quite yet about it, I guess.
So these cards are pretty freaking awesome when you compare them to the NVIDIA ones, from what I've seen here.
And they seem to be just a little bit better too if you do a comparison between the 3000 series, like the 6900 XT, which is the top line one, is $1,000 compared to the RTX 3090, which is $1,500. Now, I haven't seen any direct comparisons as far as performance goes, but that's a $500 difference on their top cards.
I thought we had a screenshot of the comparisons, but I did see, I don't know where it is, but I did see one, and these cards are actually better than just a little bit better than the RTX counterparts. Now, the middle one, the 6800 XT, $650. And if that would compare to the RTX 3080, which is $700. So it's a little cheaper, and it's actually a little bit better performance. And then the cheaper one, the 6800, is $580, the AMD card. And that compares to the RTX 3070, which is at $500.
And from what I did read about those cards, the 6000 series compared to the 3500 series NVIDIA is actually a better, quite a bit better card than the 3070 series.
Yeah, so I mean, this just happened, and so the data is trickling out, guys, and I don't know a lot about it. I haven't really dug into the videos. All the main video card guru guys have done their reviews. I just haven't gotten into
them. Speaking of NVIDIA 3070s, we do have a review from the release day, Tony, don't we?
Oh, yes, we do. Yes, we do. And Philip Morton posted a video of the video review of the new NVIDIA 3070, and well, I guess we can just sum it up in one sentence. Now, I didn't watch this video, just to put that one out there, but his conclusion is that it's basically a $500 equivalent in every way, including RTX performance to the 2080 Ti. Now, without seeing this video, and I'm sure he goes into explaining why, but it seems to be a pretty bold statement.
2080 Ti is a...
Oh, sorry. No,
that was a good card, this summer, before all the new ones came out. That was like the best card to get, right?
Sorry, I totally read this wrong. Like, I read it and said it 2080, but I was thinking the 3080 Ti. I'm like, well, that just wouldn't make any sense. But
so, yeah.
No, actually, I've read other things too, saying that yes, they are very, very, very close, almost identical. So yeah, I guess I can, with what I've read of those cards, comparisons and stuff, that yeah, they are basically the same.
How much were the 2080 Ti's?
They were pretty damn expensive this summer.
Exactly. Yes.
They were like $1,200, $1,500 if you could find them.
So a $500 equivalent to that is actually not a bad deal.
Right.
No, that's a smoking deal.
There are some good options for cards between AMD and NVIDIA now. I mean, take your pick. I mean, I would be looking at these AMD ones based on those graphs I saw earlier. And the price is cheaper too than the NVIDIA ones. 1,000 versus 1,500. So more to come. I'm sure we'll be talking about these cards for weeks to come as we get more details. But everything is very new. We just got the AMDs released. NVIDIA announced their 3070 this week as well. And so lots of more to come. Okay, so we'll keep moving. Then we'll go into PitLogic app. Will let you easily print out any of your digital information from your mobile device, like setup sheets, tire list, and more. And so they have a Facebook post here where they talked about their product. They do have a Facebook page called Pit Logic, all one word. And it says, staying organized is an important key to success for any race team. We have many digital tools to offer for data organization and storage. But if you prefer paper copies, there's no need to worry. With Pit Logic, you can also print any of this digital info. Setup sheets, tire lists, checklists for your mobile device is done with just a couple of clicks. They have a video tutorial. So this is like setup sheets that crew chiefs will use, with a clipboard when they're running practice.
Yeah, that's correct. I downloaded that app and took a look at it. It actually is a subscription service, I think, but it's free for like the first 2 weeks or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but you do get a short free introduction period that you can go through things. But it was pretty interesting. I did like that. I like that you could print those sheets right off. And, even if you decided not to use the service, you can always go off those sheets, make copies of it if you have a blank one. So, other than that, I thought it was pretty cool.
They call it Complete Race Team Management Software.
Yeah, some of those features would probably be more useful for an actual race team than something online.
Right, and this might be geared for the actual race team. I don't know, but yeah, we found it.
So, guys, we've been following this story for a little while. It's Proto Simtech, and they make the P2 pedals. And if you remember, that company is going out of business, and they just made an announcement that their batch 9, which is their second to last batch they're ever going to make for the P2 pedals or anything, I guess. But the next to last batch is released yesterday on October 28th. So if you're interested in those P2 pedals, you want to get those soon, because you're not going to be able to get them anymore after this batch and the following one coming up soon. So I think it's 46 sets of each of these 2 batches. So that's all that's going to be left if you guys are interested in those P2 pedals.
Now, he's announced retirement before and extended it, so you never know with this guy. But a lot of people buy his pedals, man. He sells out real quick as soon as they go for sale. So this started yesterday. I haven't looked to see if they're sold out yet. Proto Sim Tech. All right, how about the Modem Sim chassis, David?
This thing is pretty.
It is.
Best way to describe it. It's a tube kind of curved archy frame, but it looks really cleverly designed in that so it looks a lot more sturdy than some of the other tube frames.
Tubular arches.
It's tubular arches as well as kind of a triangular connection design within it, which makes it even more look even more stable. And it can also, I'm not sure if this one is actually motion or not. It looks like it can be upgradable to motion. It's got adjustable pedal box, adjustable steering box. Looks definitely very sturdy. It comes with a 12-year warranty, and they'll help you set it up. That's a nice little feature. Try using the schematics for the SimLabs product.
Okay, but if you look at their website, which is modemsimulation.com, yikes, it's $13,000 Australia dollars.
I'll get you a conversion.
13,000. And I don't think that's motion, guys.
That's about 9,000 US.
It's not.
So that's just a stationary rig. It is compatible with motion, it says, but that's an additional cost. Oh my. I mean, it is pretty, like you said. So it's got a nice artsy look to it. But I mean, really? Is it? I mean, Tony, tell me, is this too much money? Probably.
Yeah.
I'll second that. Yeah, that's a bit much.
Well, I was fishing around for a bunch of words, but none of them I can really say here. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, how do you justify that cost? I just don't see it. I mean, the materials alone can't be more than $1,000. And yeah, and got to paint it. They got to bend the tubes into a certain angle. Like I said, they're arches or arcs, I guess, or half circles. All right, let's do one more quick one before we get into results. Tony, the APX simulators.
Yeah, it's another site, and I was trying to figure out where these guys are out of, and if the pricing that I'm seeing is what denomination, like if it's Canadian, if it's American. Anyways, it looks like it's another sim rig site.
California.
Okay, so it's all American. Now these guys deal with the 80/20 profiles, and like on the complete opposite spectrum from what I'm seeing, these prices are insanely good.
Yeah, I agree.
Starting out.
Wow.
Yeah, so just like your plain Jane 80/20 simulator. Now this isn't going to come with a seat or anything like that, obviously, but you got a spot for your pedals and your wheel, and for somewhere to mount your seat. It's nothing special. Like I said, it's plain Jane, but still $250
for 80/20.
Yeah, for 80/20, and that gets you started, right? Which to me just seems like that's a pretty darn good deal to get started. Now, this is kind of looks like what they do is you build what you want, and so as you add things, obviously the price goes up. They deal in static as well as motion rigs, and
wow. Yeah, it's very impressive, that $250 version. They have some other rigs though that are kind of like maybe a tubular style, a little bit different take at $400, and then a beefier one at $580, and then they have the best one. It says $5,500, and this is one with motion, and it's a tubular style with the 4D box corner situation.
Yeah, so it looks like that 250 model looks like to be their only one that's 80/20 profile. I think everything else is prefabricated tube styles.
Right.
So the other one here that kind of grabbed my attention, because I haven't seen this yet. Maybe I just wasn't looking hard enough. Actually, I was not looking at all for this kind of thing. But they have, I'm just going to call them a sim sock. It kind of looks like a little bit of a boot. It's got some of it looks to have like the grippy deal on the bottom of the feet. Like those slipper socks, that kind of idea.
They look perfect.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. I'm the kind of guy I drive either if I use socks most of the time. I'm barefoot. I prefer it that way, but yeah, I could probably go for something like that.
APXSim.com. So new players, at least to us, on the market here. I love those socks with the grippy things on the bottom. And then they have an 80/20 rig for $250 out of California.
Yeah, these guys are definitely worth a look.
And they have actual D-box on that $5,500 motion rig, it looks like.
Hey, Mike. Before we get into our results, can I just add that there's actually been an update to the Proto Simtech, those P2 pedals. The batch 9 is going to be their last batch. I just saw that there's an update on their website, so they're not actually going to do a batch 10. So,
He
so
changes
really,
his
if you
mind again.
yeah, so according to his website, this is the last batch, batch number 9, and so you really want to get it in quick if that's what you want to get.
Yep. Yeah, I've heard good things about those pedals, so I think they're 450, 550. I don't remember. Somewhere in there.
479 to
Yeah, somewhere
480.
in there. All right, well, let's jump into results then. Let's talk the NIS Texas. Let's finish that up. Friday Open, I ran. I got a P13. I got involved in a few wrecks. I was just slow enough to not be competitive. And that's always the biggest bummer when you're just, I got to just limp it home so I don't kill my I rating. But I did have an extra set of tires at the end, and there was no late cautions to take advantage of them. And that was my theme the whole week at Texas. I'd save tires early. I'd have a set at the end in case there was a late caution, and there never was any of the 3 nights I raced. Tom Dreiling ran. He got a P16. He said he didn't have any speed all race. It must be how I drive the new Texas. He said, I'll learn onto the paperclip. Tony Rochette wrecked out early. No other details. Greg had a VR issue. So Greg recently reinstalled Windows. I'm not sure what went wrong with his VR. I think it just stopped or something in the middle of the race, and he just pulled over and quit. All right, so Sunday Open. David, a self-inflicted wrecked out.
Yeah, I've been struggling since the latest tire update came out with 1.5 miles, and I can run for 10 laps, and then everybody else is just taken away, taken away. So something that I'm doing is just killing the right front, even though I tried to save tires, and I just got frustrated and got her sideways and put myself in the inside wall, and then parked it and went on to run a 6-hour race in Endurance Le Mans. And also Tony he just said P wrecked, same song.
Same song, different day. So that's how Texas went for us, but let's move on to Martinsville. Much better, maybe. Wednesday Open, David, you got DQ'd. Dang.
Hashtag rant time, man. We had a driver in here who would just run over everybody. He was unapologetic about it too. He started off dive bombing me for like 21st on lap 5, and he dive bombed so hard he couldn't stick it, so he comes up and sideswipes me. And he literally says, well, either make a move or get moved, because there were 2 wide stacking up in front of us, so I was just taking it easy. And this guy literally had 4 or 5 different guys cussing at him before the race was over. I told him he wasn't going to finish the race, and the prophecy came true because he ticked another guy off, and the other guy wrecked him on purpose. So anyway, that caused quite a few problems for me. Later, I had a guy who got loose, and so I got just on his inside, and then he crowded me all the way down to the curb. And I was still trying to stay off of him, but my left tire hits the curb because he squeezed me so far. And he thanked me for giving him room, sarcastically. What a hypocrite. If you squeeze somebody, don't tell them they're not giving you enough room. I can't drive onto the grass.
All right, where are you going to go, right?
Yeah, and I also had somebody rear-end me into another guy. He apologized for it, so people make mistakes, and generally, I make mistakes, and I try to own up to them. I owned up to my screw up at Talladega. My pet peeve is when somebody screws up and won't own up to it. So there it is. But yeah, I was just caught up in too much crap and ended up getting my last X on the Quagmire on the white flag lap.
Crazy. Okay. And I ended up running P4 which I'm very happy with. I was up to 16x there for the longest time, and you get the drive-through penalty at 17, but I never got that 17th. It just worked out. The last 4x I actually got completely ran over by our good friend Marcelo. Like, we restart, it was just like you said. You go into the corner, there, everyone's stacked up double wide in front of you. There's nowhere to go, and he doesn't even brake for the corner. He just completely just plows in and just takes me out from behind, and didn't even try to brake for the corner. It was horrible. But somehow, some way, I've recovered. Damage doesn't hurt you at this track. You know, as long as your wheel is straight and you got your RPMs, you're going to have a good run. 26 cautions in this race.
Yeah, we had over 125 laps of caution in ours.
In a 250 lap race.
Yeah, and I did forget to mention the car was really fast. It was nice to actually have to use the brake at an oval again.
You know, the set is awesome. I said that at the beginning. This week we are just, I mean, the thing just turns so well, and I don't feel like I even have to try hard to get to race other people because the car is that fast, and I'm kind of just, like you said, being cautious instead of running over people.
And it rolls the center so well that you don't get that loose off, snappy feeling.
Yep. Tony Rochette, he ran with us. He got a P5. Great run for him. He said, hey, not wrecked, but was rear-ended about 4 times. This race was atrocious. 29 cautions for 144 laps. He says, I'm one and done this week. The set was great. Would have been better if we had more than 10 to 20 lap runs. And then I ran today with Tom Dreiling. Tom got DQ'd out. He was in top split with, like, man, every heavy hitter you can think of. Boyd Hogan was in there, and Garrett and all those guys. I mean, all those guys that are going for pro and are pro, and so he was running like 12th, then 10th, and then 9th, but he kept getting involved in incidents, and he ran out of X before the race ended, so he got DQ'd out. But he said it was a great set, and he was really happy with the speed. At one point, Tom said he was only a 10th off of Garrett Maines at race pace. And he said that was pretty darn good. And then I ran and I got P17. Now I ran better than that result. There were 28 cautions in my race. Had a great car, but was just caught up in different crap. I actually had to do a drive-through penalty when I went over 17X with 20 to go. And that really kind of put me back. I was running 5th, I think, when that happened. So.
Got a couple of good news stories in our official series adventures. Over in the IMSA series, Greg has been taking his road course talents into the sports cars now. And he took a P1 at Laguna Seca in a schoolyard setup. Then we also have Tom, and I was in this race with Tom, even though we were running different classes. He had one win and a few top 5s. He got his first win in the LMP2 car, and also his first win at Laguna Seca. And that puts his record of 24 different cars and 28 different tracks with wins.
Tom is a talent, I tell you what. I was bragging on him today, you know, in top split. I'm like, look, now's your chance to see how you stack up against the big boys. And I think he felt like he was stacking up. So I expect him to keep doing really well. What an amazing stat. 24 different cars he's won in. I don't think I've done that. My official, I ran the sprint car. I was 11 out of 16 after starting dead last. Got most of those spots actually the first lap. I got up to about 9th, but faded to 11th. There was a late caution, and I was super squirrely on the restart, but somehow held on. That was pretty fun. That was at North Wilkesboro, I believe it was. And then NASCAR Legends, I was 7th out of 16 at Bristol. It was caution free at Bristol. Can you believe it? I actually burned off the tires and was 4 seconds slower at the end, but limped it home. So there were people that had to pit with like 10 to go, 5 to go because the tires blew. And I was probably really close to blowing the tire. I was so slow. But the people that saved tires early, man, they ended up front for sure. I just don't know how to do it. I'm not good at these Legends races that go caution free. Okay, and with that, let's talk league and hosted. Tom Dreiling ran Sim Auto Racing League, P9. Said ran decent, got involved in a crash at halfway, damaged the right front. We are learning. And that was what he was doing with Adam, right? The SARA?
Yeah, Adam had a good run, but I don't remember what his finish was.
I think it was 5th. But yeah, those guys are rocking on the super late. And with that, let's jump to final thoughts. Brian McCubbin.
Okay, so this week, or a couple days ago, HP posted on Reddit that the G2 headsets are getting ready to ship. So hopefully it won't be too much longer before I get my new headset and I get back into the sim. I'm still in the process of rebuilding everything on my rig as far as the motion stuff goes, and I'm a little bit OCD when it comes to wires and hiding them and keeping them very well managed. And this system is really putting that to the test because there are wires everywhere. So I've been just dreading how I'm going to hide all these wires and get them all nice and neat. But I'll do my best on that. I'll send you pictures on how it goes.
I've got a picture that could probably send you into a panic attack.
Spaghetti. Now, I say get it up and running. Don't worry about the wires. Worry about the wires later after everything's up and running. Then rewire it.
Probably a good idea.
Okay, David Hall, final thoughts.
Continue to stream at Mixmage. That's with one M. Actually, there's two M's in there, but they're kind of separated. One X. Enjoying the racing. Frustrated with the big ovals. I don't know what's changed, but I've always historically been a long run guy, and now I can't figure out the long run. So it felt great at Martinsville to be competitive again. That's about all I have today.
If it was easy, nobody would do it. Okay, and then Tony Groves had to bail early, so no final thoughts for him. Thanks to Evan Pasoka for coming on. My final thoughts is, man, I'm so happy to run good at Martinsville. P4, I was probably in position to fight for the win today if I had some better luck and not get involved in some incidents that weren't really my doing. And so looking forward to tomorrow night, Friday, when we can take another shot at it and just go for a win, at a track like Martinsville. Man, I'm excited that I'm running good. And I think it really has to do with the setups that Mike Morley and his team over at the Schoolyard Setups have been, they're getting us a base. I don't know if Greg and David, you guys are changing it, but man, it's dialed in this week, and man, we're fast. So that sure is fun. And so with that, we'll see you on the track later.